one second. I think your mic is not on. Try again.
All right. Let's see.
Does yours work? There. Okay. All right. I call the Sonoma County Library Commission meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. Announcements are first item on the agenda, and I have a couple myself. So I just want to just call out again and congratulate the library staff and for all the hard work in the tremendous effort to put together the Roseland branch, and that it was done in such a short period of time, and it's such an exciting event. I really enjoyed reading the management report, because throughout that report there are all these items that relate to Roseland and what's happening there. So it's a can't wait thing, and I look forward to going to the opening. I also wanted to mention that the Library Commission held a special meeting on October 17th, and we called it a retreat. It was in the nature of a workshop. Well, it was certainly a public meeting, and we did have one member of the public join us. And our purpose for the meeting was to review our first year as a new commission and to look to the future while also giving us clarity on our roles as commissioners. The time was productive and it was well spent, but it was clear that we have more work to do. One thought expressed by numerous attendees was that we hold another such meeting in perhaps the spring, in another 6 months or so. So I would appreciate hearing from the other commissioners, perhaps as you go through your reports, as to your feelings about that retreat workshop. And that's all I have. Any other announcements? Hearing none, do we have any public who would like to comment on any item not on the agenda tonight? Seeing no members of the public, but one. But thank you for being our public tonight. I can see that. Good. Do we have any? We have no library advisory boards or friends to make a report, so we'll move down to the commission reports. And commissioners want to start giving their reports. We can start with Commissioner Smith at the far end.
Yes, I would also like to comment on our workshop retreat. I thought it was a great opportunity to talk about what we do as a commission and how we can be more effective. And I do think there's room for a little more work on that topic. I think it was a great start, and I'd like to see more opportunities like that for us. I found it very valuable. There was no lab meeting for the Cotati-Rohnert Park Lab in October. There weren't enough members to hold a meeting. People had things that were going on, so there was no meeting. I did give a presentation to Pathways Charter School this month to the high school students on resources available to them at the Sonoma County Public Library, the Sonoma State University Library, and the Santa Rosa Junior College Library. And that was well received by the students. And I also showed off my Snoopy library card to them. Got a little excitement going. And I'd also like to point out, if anybody hasn't had a chance to see it, there's a great article in the New York Times this morning on story times and the value of story time and the popularity of story time. And I know our story times are crowded and well received, so it's great to see the library get publicity on a national level.
In Windsor, we had our lab meeting on Tuesday, October the 13th, where we discussed about various things that the lab could do for library advocacy moving forward. Lego Saturday is this coming Saturday. I went and walked through the science fair that was at the Santa Rosa Fairgrounds, and the library had an exhibit there with some literature, and the 3D printer was being demonstrated, and they were building these structures out of straws and little plastic clips. Overall, the science fair was very crowded, lots of kids, lots of energy, lots of noise. So I think that's very useful sort of thing. And that's it.
There will be 2 meetings this month in Cloverdale, one for the Friends, their general meeting on the 4th at 6:30 at the library, and then the lab will hold their, I think it's a quarterly meeting, on the 17th at 5:30. I went to the retreat as well as several others here, and I find it very, very valuable in the fact that it opened up a lot of questions and it got a dialogue going that I thought was really needed and really, really great. And as Hillary mentioned, another meeting, and Helena, another meeting in 3 to 6 months, I think would be highly valuable because of all the questions that were opened up. There are no answers. So now we need to start working on the answers and some of the resolutions to some of the issues that were discussed. Also, I am a member or the liaison for the Community Outreach Group, which is a directors group that was formed just about a year ago now. And they're the ones that have hired Lou Edwards' group for consultation as to advocacy and how we can move forward with our funding streams. And this week, they are starting a survey of people around the county as to their opinions and their views of the library and where we stand within the community. Want you all to be aware of that so that if you hear about it, kind of like to have some feedback on it, how it was received.
Telephone polling?
It's telephone polling and email, internet polling. They're doing both because they have found that a lot of people's landlines are not reliable anymore. Cell phone numbers are not reliable. Email is much more reliable, so they are doing both to cover everybody. So, and we are going to do some reaching out to different groups to kind of maybe see if we can establish some kind of list for things like this. So, and I think that's just about it.
The Roanoke Park Cotati branch had a rather spectacular event, the grand opening to our teen space, the teen space which had been paid for by the Friends of the Library. And we, at that party, dedicated the teen space to Joanne Schmutz, who has been a volunteer and bookstore manager and in charge of the book sales and just extraordinary volunteer for 40 years or so. So that was really neat. We put up a little plaque in that space. The children's librarians, Lori Cameron and Sandra Breedlove, created a really neat scavenger hunt. And so all the teens came in, they signed up, put down their school, and then they went into the teen space and did this scavenger hunt, finding certain things, so they got familiar with the teen space. Anyway, we had no idea whether we would have like one person or whatever. And I think it was like 35 maybe teens who signed up and did the scavenger hunt. Family came, parents and stuff. So we had a big crowd and we had pizzas, and it was really fun. It exceeded my expectations. I was really, really pleased with it. That was a big event at our library. I also attended the retreat. I also thought the treat was wonderful. I really want to thank the members of the commission who were on that committee, because I know it was a ton of work organizing it and getting the consultants and getting the space and bringing the food and all that other stuff. And so I really want to thank the organizing committee for that. I also felt the same way. It was a great kind of breakthrough, a good time to sit in the same room and talk. And I think some of the things that we kind of got to, I think we kind of had talked about the point of having a budget committee and a budget meeting last year, kind of an all-day event, which it didn't really play out that way. So this was very important to get together in a whole group in a long time and talk about our stuff. I didn't think that we got, as I think it's been pointed out, to solving a lot of things and protocols and the other kinds of things that we need to continue to move forward as a commission in a real the way we all want to. But anyway, I am all for a second retreat of this kind in a few months. I think it's really necessary. And anyway, but I thought it was very well done and very important. The lab meeting, our lab meeting at Rhoda Park Cotati, was canceled, as Hillary mentioned, and it's unfortunate because we're kind of in the middle. We're trying to do some byline changes and expand the membership and get more teen members on it, and we can't kind of take the next step on anything because we can't get a quorum, we can't meet. So it's an ongoing frustration. It's one of the things that I'd hope that we would talk about more at our retreat, which is this big group of people that some of them are called friends and some of them are called library advisory board members, but there's a big group of volunteers, and I want to do a lot more about, getting all the people who support libraries in a volunteer sense, to just look at that whole thing, because it needs some more something. And I think that's all. Thank you.
All right, the Guerneville Library Advisory Board meeting is on Wednesday, and I have to read a few sentences of the email that was sent out about this by the board president. This is Peter Andrews. He says, "This upcoming lab meeting, November 4th, is a special lab meeting a week earlier than normal. It's the most important meeting since I've been chair, and as far as I can remember, the most important in 15 years. It's our labs, fish, or cut bait meeting." Okay, and he's talking about the new director, who's not so new now, but Brett, and he's talking about the new commission, who's not so new. But he's also, so what he ends up saying is, okay, it's time for us to step up as the grassroots library program. And so he says this next meeting provides us the opportunity to cheer hooray and add our voice of support to the new commission and new director. More than that, we can and should put our time and sweat into making the commission's plan and our plan succeed, at least as best as we can do at our level. So I thought that was one way to get people there. And it's going to be a long meeting, and I'm going to have to take a nap on Wednesday before I go out there. But so that I just wanted to read that. Also, what's that?
Did Peter send that?
Peter sent that. Yeah. There's more to it, but he's very verbose. But
yes, he is.
He is. Also, last Saturday, I had the privilege to go to the Occidental Library remodel opening, and that was a lot of fun. We had a good time there, and I didn't go for the pizza. I kind of looked around. I think there's only one person there that might have just wandered in for the pizza, but it was a very nice extra room right there. So, and as far as the retreat was great. I learned things about people I didn't know, which is always good, and I won't repeat them for the record. But I think we should do this periodically because it really gets some consensus, and it also helps us formulate what we want to do as a commission, which we don't have time in these meetings to do. So that's it for me.
I'll start with the last lab meeting that we had, and one of the things that I brought up was the retreat, and that I'd hoped that we were going to accomplish a cleaner dialogue with that started to solve some more things, and they were so once again we meet again this Thursday, I believe the 5th, and so they were real curious about how that was going to go and what was going to happen. One of the other things we talked about in the lab, and is the idea exactly what does the lab do relative to the Friends, and that's an ongoing topic, and that was actually slightly breached at the retreat. Secondly, I'm real impressed with the new library manager, John Haupt, and his team and the esprit de corps that's going on there now. I attended a 3D printer seminar, and everybody in the whole library was there, and I really like that. So moving to the retreat, I think from a personal standpoint, that's probably, I don't know, maybe the 14th or 15th retreat that I've attended. I thought that Sam and Cheryl, as a team, were really good. I thought that this handout that they gave us on, what a commission does and all of the integral parts, the 12 golden rules for board members, was great. I think that we should probably do 2 retreats a year. That's just my opinion. So I'd give you a big thumbs up on that. That's it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joanne Sanders, and I represent Sonoma Valley. And I would like to report out that since our last meeting, we had a lab meeting on October 8th, and the enthusiastic Peter Andrews from Guerneville attended. He asked for a system-wide lab meeting, and he wanted to gain level of interest that we had at our lab for that. I've also interviewed prior to that meeting, interviewed a prospective lab member who is pretty well known in Sonoma Valley, and I hope to get your support for his appointment maybe at the next meeting. It's Ken Brown. He's a former colleague of mine on the Sonoma City Council, former mayor of Sonoma, multiple term council member, and also a former liaison between the Sonoma Valley Library and the City Council. So he has a lot of knowledge that I think he would bring to the table, and a tremendous amount of time and will to serve the community. So hopefully he will get the appointment. Topics at our last meeting that you might find interesting is that we are in the planning stages for 2016 events, including adult winter reading, the Jack London anniversary, book clubs, mystery in general, homework help, special young adult programs, and the usual music programs. And if you're interested in knowing about this, our friends purchased some smaller carts that are proving to be very nice tools, useful tools for the workroom material flow. So perhaps that is something you can put on your wish list. And then sadly, a long-term volunteer, Carol Brown, passed away suddenly last month, and it really cast a cloud over our meeting and just over the library staff in general. She was the backbone of the book club. She was a Friends member, organized, not the book club, the book sales, I apologize, organized the flow of how books are sorted and just had it down to a science and enabled us to raise over $10,000 at every book sale. Anyway, she's gone now, and a very nice memorial service was planned for her, and I attended that on October 18th at the Vintage House. And this is going to be a huge void for Sonoma Valley. And I don't know if it's acceptable to all of you. I've never heard this done here, but if it were appropriate and acceptable to you, I would ask that this meeting be dedicated to her memory. And that concludes my report.
Good evening. I sadly was out of town and unable to attend the retreat, so I'm happy to hear reports about that from you all. And, of course, I think the next one is a great idea so that I can attend one, too. I did informally have a chance to have a conversation with Chair of the Board of Supervisors, Susan Gorin, about the need for outreach to community leaders to gather additional support for libraries. I represented the library at the Locien luncheon along with Rebecca Forth, who I think was sitting in for Brett. And then there is also, I think you all may be aware of that there is now a Spanish language newspaper, La Prensa, coming out of the Press Democrat, and I think there should be some good opportunities for our Roseland branch to be highlighted in that. And that's my report.
I had too attended the Lucien luncheon, as well as the opening of the Guerneville, or the addition of the Guerneville Library. It is compact, but flows very nicely, and I was happy to be there. And you went for the pizza, I went for the tiny cupcakes. So, and I also attended the retreat and the opening of the Girls and Boys Club section of the Roseland Village, which was very impressive. And that's all for now. Thank you.
So I wanted to follow up with you about holding the meeting in her honor. Is there something special we need to do? Or?
Thank you for asking. I think what we did at City Council was if we had a meeting to dedicate, we had a template of a letter that we sent to the family of that person, just saying that the meeting was dedicated to their memory and appreciation for their service, or whatever was appropriate language, and that's it. So this probably would, for now, I just ask that you all
I know the board
respect that.
Yes.
I mean, just in verbally only. I'm not asking for anything special. I just want you to know the very dear member of our library community has passed away suddenly. But in the future, if we wanted to agendize as a group how to handle such dedications, I think it's not uncommon for the library to have people pass away who have served for 40 years, I heard earlier. And it goes a long way for others who have seen that person give so much time to a community organization. We did this when I was on the Golden Gate Bridge District. And sometimes there can be meetings where there would be multiple dedications, and everybody it's up to whoever the member is to give the secretary the pertinent information about where to send the letter and the contact information. But I can't tell you how far that goes.
Yeah, no, I think it's a lovely idea, and I think it's something that I hope that we can work on. So I'll let Tim work on having a committee when he comes back next month, and just have a protocol put together. I think it's a great idea. And
I'm not sure that we, even need a committee. I'd be happy to get the letter that comes from.
That's fine. I know that the Board of Supervisors, as I recall, they do things like they adjourn in memory of somebody. So maybe there's different ways to do it. So that's all. It would just be a small discussion about.
Yeah, we could even have just a general discussion on the as a group and on a future agenda.
That's a great idea.
How we want to handle it, and I can help get together some examples of how others have done it.
Okay.
Bigger budgets. The Golden Gate Bridge had more of a folder that went with the letter, but certainly just a letter on the library letterhead I think would suffice, and we just all need to maybe agree on what the language should be on the letter.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Good.
This, and maybe it might be appropriate to mention in notes when we send it. The commission notes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, if this could be placed in the notes, that'd be great.
All right, so I can ask Tim if we can get it on a future agenda. All right, so the Sebastopol Lab met the first Wednesday in October, and there was some concern about having a quorum for that meeting, but they ended up getting a quorum, which is actually a first for them. They haven't had that problem in the past. So it was not a big agenda. We have 3 youth members on the Sebastopol Lab, and 2 of them are from Annalee High School, and they were in attendance one of them was in attendance at the meeting. And she reported that they're working on a monthly news article for the Annalee High newspaper. So all about the library and what's happening at the library. And so that's one way that we can try to draw more students into using the library. Peter Andrews also attended the first part of the Sebastopol Lab meeting, and also talked about his, trying to get support from the labs to come together and plan all countywide lab meeting. Sebastopol Library has been very busy. They, as have some other, of course, branches, as always in our system, been. Sebastopol hosted Kathy Camper, who did a comic making workshop. She's the author of a graphic novel called Lowriders in Space, and she also is a librarian at the Multnomah County Library up in Oregon. And attendees were able to create their own mini comics from that. There is a childhood development professional, Veronica Dondero, who leads the weekly bilingual story time. She incorporates play, craft, songs, and storytelling to introduce basic concepts in Spanish. There is also a toddler as well as baby story times. And Michelle Santa Maria, the children's librarian, has been focusing on letters and body identification for toddler story time. She and Emma Wendell created three-dimensional stuffed plush dolls of the letters A and B. So they were using those to interact with children to identify items that start with A and B. So I know these groups are widely attended. They also have the Baby Story Time, which has become a great parent support group, and parents learn songs and bounces and do reading for their children, which is completely in line with the rest of the country, as Hillary points out, with how fabulous and popular story times are for kids, whether it's read to a dog or story time and toddler time. Sebastopol has an adult readers theater, and they met recently and started reading Tom Stoppard's Arcadia. They meet monthly so that they can interact in plays together. I don't know if you all saw in the Press Democrat this Sunday, but the Foodie Book Club of Sebastopol was featured in one of the entertainment sections. And they have recommendations, which I did not bring with me. I'll have to go look the article up. But it's a group of adults who are in their 30s to, as they say, well-seasoned in the article. And they read fiction, nonfiction, and even poetry. But all the selections offer some element of food and drink, even if it's just a sliver or a sip. And they're encouraged to bring a tasty dish with them to the book group meeting. They meet once a month. The next meeting is November 18th. There is a Lantern Group out in Sebastopol, the nonprofit 501c3 that is hoping to raise money for an improved Sebastopol library building. They're still waiting to find out what the city of Sebastopol plans for an updated civic center and how the library will fit in with that. They did receive a small community grant that will help with some public relations work, and encourage people to go check out lanternlibrary.org, which has been expanded with some additional features to try to keep people interested in going back and looking at it as we wait to find out what the goal is for raising money. And that's all I have. So thank you, everybody, on that. And now we'll move on to item 5.2, which is Commissioner Committee reports, starting with the Director Evaluation Report. Commissioner Smith.
Yes, the Directors Evaluation Committee met this afternoon. We gave direction to the Director on compiling a report on progress towards goals. Our next meeting will be January 11th at 4 o'clock in the Central Library Boardroom.
But we're having next month the whole commission.
There is a closed session meeting of the full commission, but that's not technically a director's subcommittee meeting.
Okay, moving on to the Finance Committee report.
The Finance Committee did not have a full agenda, so we decided to cancel the October meeting. It was not held, and the items that were scheduled to be discussed in October are carried forward to November, to our November meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And moving on to the Public Relations Committee. That's
The
Commissioner
Public
Reese.
Relations Committee met this afternoon. We discussed the roles and responsibilities of the committee. We have a few refinements, and then I'll send it to the chair of the commission to be put on the agenda next month. We started talking about talking points that people can use commissioners could use for an elevator speech in our advocacy program. And we ended up delving into the slideshow that we had been directed to put together. and going through that piece by piece. And we should have that completed sometime this month, probably by the middle of the month, with some good feedback, hopefully, from Brett and some of the other people involved. Our next meeting will be the first Monday of the month, right before the commission meeting in December.
All right, thank you. And the report from the Revenue Enhancement Committee?
Okay, again, Revenue Enhancement Committee met and discussed their roles and responsibilities. Again, being refined, and because it was the fourth Monday of the month, it's too close to this meeting to have it on the agenda, so it will be on the next agenda for next month, for December. We talked again about the statistics and the funding streams for the other JPA and comparable nearby libraries, getting deeper into how they do it and how it's similar or dissimilar to our library. And we also talked about the role of the foundation in the relation to the library and beginning to have greater communication and build a better partnership with the foundation because of its role in a library's funding status. So that's pretty much all we discussed. And again, we will be either the 4th or the 5th Monday of next month because of Thanksgiving. We're still debating about that. So.
All right, thank you. So that takes us to item number 6, approval of the minutes. Any comments? Any corrections?
I'll be abstaining as I was absent.
Okay.
So moved to move the approval of the minutes.
Okay, so Commissioner Garcia moves to approve the minutes. Do I hear a second? Commissioner Ebright seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Correspondence and press coverage. We haven't had any, or? Oh, okay. So I don't think I haven't seen anything. Anybody see the correspondence and press?
Yeah, it came in the email Rebecca sent today.
Well, I didn't see it.
Yeah, one, I'll just comment. The Press Democrat did an article on the tiny library in Occidental plays giant role in rural hamlet. They have very poetic writers at the Press Democrat. So there was a nice little article.
I do know also that Efren Carrillo mentioned the Roseland Library in his column in the Sonoma County Gazette this month, which is just hit the stands.
Okay.
And Rebecca also sent the foodie book club that you're referring to, the article.
Okay. Well, I'll look for it when I get home. So if it's at all possible, it'd be great to have it out sooner than the day of the meeting. And I think Tim had asked that binders still be brought with. Okay. Moving on, we have one item on the consent calendar, item 8.1, which is the fiscal year 2015-2016 insurance policy renewal. As you recall, we discussed this last meeting. And Patrick, is there anything you want to share about? I think the overall price is a little bit different. It actually looks like we're saving more money than was predicted last time. Oh, I guess by doing this, I'm taking it off the consent calendar by talking about it. So let me just withdraw that comment and ask if there are no objections to the consent calendar. If there are no objections, it will be adopted.
I move adoption of the consent calendar.
Second.
All right, thank you. Sorry, Patrick.
Freak him out.
We'll talk later. So that takes us to discussion items. We have the director's report, item 9.1.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, we need to vote on we did a first and second, we need to vote on the adoption of the consent calendar.
Well, what I read up on it before this meeting was that hearing no objection, item 8.1 would then be adopted.
That's if you call the question. You have to say all those in favor.
Okay.
And then I think we probably should go back and do that on the minutes as well.
So we didn't need a motion, right? We could have just...
You needed a motion on the minutes. You had one, you had a second. You just need to call a question and say
okay, all in favor.
Well, you should probably go back and...
Okay, so going back to item 8.1.
So I move.
You don't have to say it again.
I don't have to do that.
She just probably should, just in case it's like somebody just tuned in or just for the minute taker.
So item 8.1, which is fiscal year 2015-2016 insurance policy renewal. Do I hear a motion to approve
Well,
it?
the motion, I move that we adopt the consent calendar, which means we're adopting this.
Right.
So there was first, and then we had a second. And so now we just vote. All in favor?
So who moved? It was
I did.
Barbara, and who seconded?
Seconded.
Linda Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. I'll have to go back and study that because what I read is you don't
It's
have
okay.
to do the vote. Okay, so moving on to the director's report.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm Brett Leo, the library director. Have a few things to share with you this evening. I'd like to start by echoing what Commissioner Whistler mentioned. Tomorrow is the big day. Roseland opens to the public at 10 a.m. I know I'm super excited. The staff have been working pretty nonstop for the last 2 or 3 months to get everything ready. So I want to send a big thank you to all the people that have been responsible for pulling this off. It's been a lot of work. So thank you. As I mentioned before, this will be a fantastic community hub. We're planning on doing a lot of the same things at this location that we do throughout the county. We're going to bring in plenty of events. We're looking to get the Santa Rosa Symphony there like we have, elsewhere in the county. We're talking to the Santa Rosa JC about citing some of their family literacy classes and that there. So I'm going to get the 3D printer there, like it's been in our other libraries. So I think it'll immediately just be a wonderful addition to that community, and I have every expectation that it'll be very busy and popular as well. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be there tomorrow. I have to go to a strategic planning meeting for the NorthNet library system, but we're going to have most of our library management team there throughout the day, and then we'll have our regular staff there as well. And then we have our grand opening on November 16th, so please do try to attend that as well. That'll be 14th? Sorry about that. November 14th. November 14th will be the grand opening, so please do attend that as well. A few other things. I've been working with our graphics designer and our web developer to get an executive summary of our strategic plan onto our website so the public can see all the good things that we're up to. That should be up on our website around November 16th. Again, the original document is about 20 pages long, so we want to get something up there that, again, has an executive summary and highlights the priorities and explains the goals in that. So look for that. Ken tonight brought a floor plan of what we have planned for the Cloverdale Library refresh. I think the architect's done a really nice job of listening to the staff there and me, and has just done a really good job of, I think, listening and then taking what he's heard, and I think that what he's come up with will really enhance services in Cloverdale. So take a look at that if you haven't seen it already. We've implemented year one of the salary adjustments, so all staff now are either 80% or 70% or 30% towards the recommendations that came out of the study, and then we'll finish up with that next year. But we have implemented round one. Rebecca and I and a couple others have been working to create the job description for the position that will assist the commission and also our human resources folks. So we hope to get that finished up in the next couple days and then get that posted so that we can get that filled so that the commission has someone to assist them day to day. We're also starting to interview in person for the IT manager. We did 5 telephone interviews, and we've narrowed those down to 3. So those in-person interviews start in a couple weeks. So I hope to have somebody hired into that position soon, and hopefully get them started in December. And then that'll be the first time in 8 or 9 years that we've had someone managing our IT department. So that's a position I'm very excited about. We're wrapping up drafting the request for a proposal to go out and hire a contractor to help us with our facilities master plan. So Ken's finishing that up, and then we'll post that and get underway with that project. Reese mentioned that the Lou Edwards group is going to start our public surveying this week, and I'm really excited to hear what the public says is important to them around library services, but I think it'll really generate some wonderful information for us to use. And I think that's what I wanted to share this morning, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
May I ask a couple of questions and a couple of comments? First of all, I love the story about the History and Genealogy Library. It was so cool about finding that easement and for the, how it's going to help the public trail system outside the city of Sonoma. So anyway, I love the specific little, anecdotes like that. That's a great story. And I also just wanted to double check the Cloverdale refresh. In my mind, we're kind of like painting things, and then we found out that we kind of need to do more stuff, and we allocated, I think, $200,000, and we've got an architect involved. We'll be within that, no matter which one of these plans comes to play.
For the Cloverdale refresh specifically, the
Cloverdale, didn't we allocate in our budget $200,000 for that?
Yeah. I asked Ken about that quite a bit, and he assures me that we'll stay within budget. Yes.
Okay, great. And I only had one other question. I noticed this very cool thing called an IDEA team, that you hosted another IDEA team meeting in October. I just wondered what that was. It sounds neat.
Yeah, thank you for asking about that. When I was in Florida, I started a group under the same name because as director, I think sometimes, I'm sure this happens in places other than libraries, but I think frequently when people come up with ideas, by the time they get to me, people have done a good job of listing all the ways that they can't work. So what I wanted to do is meet directly with folks throughout the system and just let them share with me ideas, concepts, things that they hope that we might do. And, I don't make any promises in the group. I say that I just want to hear the ideas and think about them and consider them. But it is a really great way for me to meet with, folks from throughout the organization and let them share their ideas without somebody telling them why it might not work.
Who gets selected for that? How does that happen? Do all the branches get to participate, or who gets on the IDEA team?
I started by just putting out a call throughout the organization and said, if you're interested in this, let me know. And then I think what I did end up doing is trying to, there's about 10, maybe there's about 8 folks on it, so not somebody from every location, but it is a pretty good cross-representation.
Any other questions?
I just found another note. I noticed that we're hiring a wine librarian, and I know that we've talked about this before. Initially, when the wine library was established, we were getting financial support from the wine industry, and then I know there's been turnover in Healdsburg, and there's a new branch manager. In terms of hiring a new wine librarian, we tried to get some support from the wine industry, and or I don't want to ask, do we need that position, but just in terms of a wine librarian. I mean, I think it's kind of taken on a life of its own, and it's now fully the library's responsibility.
There's a group called the Wine Library Associates, and there's still, I asked Bo this before he retired, there's still a good number of wineries in that do contribute annually, but it has dipped far below what it was at its high point. I do think there's room to grow there, and I also want the new wine library, and I've talked to John Haupt about this, so it's really no surprise, but I think we may want to look at shifting the focus of the wine library a bit from maybe being perhaps less of a high-level research place and more of a place that can help consumers learn about wine and enjoy wine, because that's kind of what we do as a public library. We're there for the lay person to become educated in that. So we're definitely looking at that. And there's now SSU has the Wine Institute that teaches people how to go into the business of winemaking, and then UC Davis is probably the place to go to learn the chemistry of winemaking. So I think our niche might be more along the lines of supporting the person from the general public that has an interest in wine.
At one time, we were talking about doing some sort of collaboration with the Wine Museum, which I don't know if that is still getting off the ground, the Wine Museum.
Yeah, I asked John about that, from time to time, and it doesn't seem like it's moving along very quickly, if it is moving at all.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments? Again, the management report and all the work that everybody does is just always so impressive. And thank you for the work it takes to put the report together, too. So the monthly financial report, item 9.2.2.
Report starts on page 64, and as we move along through the year, again, a pretty normal September. As you'll see, our cash at this point in time goes down about 1.1 or 1.2 million per month. We'll get an infusion of cash come mid-December in about less than 2 months, so we're moving along. We're 25% through the year. Again, we haven't received any of the tax revenue. Those usually come in December and April. And you'll see down through there's a few items that are over the budget as we move through the year. Most of them, or all three of them, are because of large initial payments that for the items that go throughout the year. And there were a couple items over $25,000 for the month. The Envisionware for $57,000. I believe you approved payment of that. It was either might have been in the September meeting. And then the PG&E bill is just shy of $40,000 for the August utility usage. Other than that, as we move through there, you can see the detail, and if there are any questions on the detail part of things, I can answer it. Nothing really out of the ordinary.
Any commission questions on the financial report?
I had a question earlier, but it was answered.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. If I can find my agenda. So that takes us to item 9.3, the monthly staff presentation, 9.3.1, delivery and hold system.
Yes. Let's see if we can. Hey. Hello. I'm Wade Wellman, supervising library specialist in charge of central shelf maintenance and delivery. And hopefully, if this works, yeah. It's a department that, if all goes well, is almost entirely invisible. And so I hope to make that a little clearer here. We got, if this works, oh, I have to turn it on. There we go. 3 drivers, 2 of them full-time, 1 of them right now extra help, but hopefully soon part-time permanent. 3 routes, 2 of them daily, 1 of them weekly, and a total of about 1,000 miles a week over the roads of Sonoma County. Why? Well, I like to think of it in terms of keeping a promise to the patrons that every item in our catalogs can be checked out at or returned to every library that we have anywhere in the system. That's a big promise, and hopefully by the end of this presentation, it'll be a little clearer to you how we and staff and volunteer over 3 counties make that a reality. So at any given moment, there are about 20,000 items that are either in transit or transit request status. That means that they are on a cart, in a bucket, or in a crate, either on board a truck or at a library somewhere in the system. How is all of that kept track of? The whole system. Throughout this, in order to give it a little bit of focus, this patron will be trying to get that book, and we'll follow those steps through. It starts out with a patron request. So either online, via the online catalog, at one of our catalog computers, or in person via phone or at a library with staff, patron will make a request for a particular item, and that will be a title. There are several items that have such a title, and as soon as the request is made, then all of the computers are on the lookout for that item to be checked in. The first one that comes in goes to the first person on the list. We print out a hold slip to that person, and then the book, hopefully, on popular books, the item will come as soon as possible. So either, as soon as patrons return it, if we have a lot of copies of it, that'll speed up how soon people can get it and how recently the person is on the list. The first person's at the top, and then each person, as they add in, queues after them. Even though the popular books are a relatively small part of our actual hold system, are the majority of wait time. People can wait several months if it's a very popular book, and we've only got 3 copies of it. Most of the stuff in the hold system, however, is... let me back up a little bit. Let's talk about the hold slip. You'll see that this, if anyone has gotten the library hold anytime recently, they've seen one of these. The top is the destination. The middle is the item itself, a code for that particular copy. And then the bottom has the destination again and a specific patron ID. If that destination matches the library that we're currently at, then when the item's printed out, we'll put it in the bottom so that it displays the patron ID, gets put on the hold shelf, and then can be picked up and checked out. Well, a 10-day timer starts, and the patrons are alerted either, again, online, by automated phone call, or by mass mailing. If, on the other hand, the branch does not match the hold slip, then it gets placed in the top with the destination branch displayed, and we get involved. It goes either in a bucket, on board a cart, or in a crate. The crates are for Mendocino and Lake County items. Their entire system is crate-based. And the buckets are anything that's fragile, like mailings or paperwork or old CD cases, or awkward items. Also those mailings, but also floppy magazines, things that wouldn't fit particularly well between books on a cart. Everything else goes on those carts. The carts can hold about 250 DVDs, books, or books on CD. They are more robust than regular book carts. They can handle going across rough terrain like asphalt and uneven cement without shedding their books or losing wheels. And at the smaller branches, those carts will hold materials for all of the branches because they'll only have a single cart. I think Occidental, Forestville, and now Roseland will only have a single cart at them. Everybody else divides out the central items onto their own cart. Central is about 20% of delivery volume, plus items that are going to materials management, so to mending or to cataloging will go on board the central cart. Generally, the large branches, so Petaluma, Rohnert Park, Sebastopol, Northwest, will receive 4 carts a day and will send about 4 carts a day on the heavy days. The items that are not those popular items that I mentioned, which is in fact the majority of our hold stuff, that is going to be things which patrons have requested from branches that they do not live at. So if they wanted to get an item from Rohnert Park, if you're at Guerneville. Every day in the morning, usually, the branches print out a request pull list, shown up there. And that list will be all of the items that an algorithm has selected to make it most convenient for each individual branch. Basically, first it looks for items that are at the branch that the patron is requesting them from, then it checks and sees if it's anywhere in the county, if it couldn't find it at the branch, and if not, it checks the partner counties to get the book there. It only allows one list. Each item only shows up on one list. So a volunteer or a staff member goes to the shelves, finds the books on there, collects them. Anything that they don't find, they'll set to trace so that the algorithm on following days will not look at that library again. And that keeps everything moving. Once those books are picked up, they're checked in, just like usual. Another hold slip is printed. If it's going to another branch, it's set up in the top there to show so. And each morning, delivery drivers will arrive with a full cart of items for that particular branch and will leave with the full cart of items that are for every other branch. And they'll head to Central, where everything is distributed. Essentially, the mixed branch carts get put on single branch carts. The mixed buckets go onto single branch buckets, and all of the Mendocino and Lake County equipment gets thrown together so that it can be given to Sprint Courier Service, who we contract with, who take trips to Mendocino and Lake County every day to pick up all of the items that we've requested from them and return all of the items that go back to them. And vice versa, they request a good deal of our stuff as well. Then, once everything's put onto those single branch carts, once again, it goes out to the destination branch where it's checked in, a hold slip is printed. Well, rather than printed, it's pulled through because you don't need to print it more than once. And then the patron is alerted and Red can finally pick up the book there, alongside the rest of Sonoma County's patrons, for a total, oh dear. for a total of 2,400 holds processed a day. But I said 20,000 items in the transit system. Some of that is just lag. Things don't arrive over the course of a single day. But a lot of it is that those items, once they're checked out, have to get back home, and we're still a browsing system. So people can check, in Santa Rosa, tend to check out and return books at basically all of the branches, more or less interchangeably, Northwest, Rincon Valley, Central, now Roseland. They could check out books and return them wherever they happen to be. People who work in Santa Rosa but live in Cloverdale or Sebastopol might check out and return books at both locations. And any patron who works down in the Bay Area might take advantage of the easy freeway access at Rohnert Park and Petaluma to check out and return books there. So, overall, when those books are checked in, each book has a color-coded branch sticker on it that represents that individual branch. If the branch doesn't match the branch sticker, those get placed on those same carts and sent back to their original home. And more specifically, the returns are placed with holds. Returns outnumber holds roughly 3 to 1. And that's no surprise. People still use the library the old-fashioned way. So, that's the system. A request, the item is checked out or pulled, the hold slip is printed, it's delivered and distributed, the patron is alerted, they check the book out, and they return it. Roughly between a quarter and a third of all checkouts go through this system. And that ratio has increased, and I think will only continue to do so as more people use the online catalog. But we'll continue delivering it and distributing it behind the scenes. Happy to be a little bit less invisible. Any questions?
How does the interlibrary loan fit into that?
Central has the interlibrary loan department. And so anything from interlibrary loan will go through Central and then be distributed out to the branches.
Thank you.
That's another thing that adds to that, the reason that we have the carts separated.
So on the Mendo Lake, we make a daily delivery to Mendo Lake.
Yes.
We do that, or where's the Sprint part? And also in Mendo Lake, is that to one place? We're not taking them around all the branches, right?
Ukiah is the central of Mendocino, and Clear Lake, which is called Redbud, is the central for Lake County.
So we go to both?
There are two separate drivers, but they are contracted through Sprint, and so they're not actually part of my department.
Okay. And then I just had one other question. You mentioned that we tell the patrons about their holds by calling them or snail mail, I think. But we also do email, don't we?
Oh, that was the first thing I said, hopefully. But
oh, did you say that?
Yeah.
Well, but the snail mail thing, somebody said to me that it's kind of changed because we no longer have a mail distribution system in Petaluma, and now they closed that down, the post office, and so now it's down in San Francisco, and so now the mail takes longer.
Oh, interesting.
And so the patrons aren't really getting their 10 days anymore. Have you had problems with that, or?
Not so much. It's the rollover for me is all related to whether the books arrive. Once they get there, it turns over, I think, mostly to IT and to who is in charge of you have a.
So the way that the notices work is we have an IT person in the basement, I guess, that batches them every day, and then we send them out to our processor, UMS, who also does our collection agency work, and they're sent out from their site, and I think their site's actually in Seattle. So it does take a day or so to get here, but the reason for the 10 days is to give over a full week for everybody to come and get their holds.
So do we tell patrons they have 10 days, but they really don't? I mean, do we run into that kind of problem?
They do have 10 days, which is on the holds notices in our documentation, and we do have holds that go expired. I think out of the three, paper mailers are the least popular of the choices nowadays. Surprisingly, telecirc notification is very popular amongst the different patron bases, and then email has been growing steadily over time.
Get a call. Thank you.
Any other questions? I had seen some other interest. All right.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. It's very enlightening, really. It makes me feel bad that I request holds, but not that bad enough to stop. So now that takes us down to item number 10 under the action items by motion. And this is item 10.1, establish part-time delivery driver position. And Ken?
Yep. Wade talked about this a little bit. We currently have an extra help delivery driver that empties all the book drops out on Mondays since we aren't open anymore. It started in 2011. They work 10 to 12 hours a week on each Monday, which is a pretty long day. But as we're getting into some problem solving about how to make that easier to do or complete, we've really noticed that we weren't in compliance with the MOU because we've been using an extra help person for the last 4 years. And extra help person is defined as being there for a temporary work. So what we recommend to do is create a new part-time delivery position of 20 hours per week. This would be adding approximately 8 to 10 hours per week. The cost for that would be a maximum of $15,000. The reason I say maximum is because the current regular drivers right now put in about 5 overtime hours per week, and we're thinking that having this extra 10 hours a week with the part-time position will cut down that amount. So that's about $11,000 per year. So the best case scenario would be we are adding $4,000 to our budget, and the worst case would be 15. But we really think that we'll cut down on that overtime by putting this part-time position in place.
Do you need a motion?
Yes.
I'll call for the motion. Do I hear a motion to establish part-time delivery driver position?
Yes.
Second.
Any other discussion on this?
I think this is real appropriate. I think it's a lot safer. I think it's, doesn't sound very safe to be driving delivery trucks all over the place and overtime and tiresome and, short days in the winter. I think this is a very appropriate thing to do.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'm in support of this because, one, I think we should be in compliance with the MOU for starters, always a good idea. And second, though I haven't seen injury data, people working a physical job 10 to 12 hours a day are more likely to be injured than people working a shorter shift. So I would hope that would also, if it saved one claim, we would pay for this revenue. Thank you.
All right, so I'd like to call for a vote if there are no other comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
It is moved and adopted. That takes us to lab appointments. And do we have any? Yes, we do, don't we? I'm sorry, it's right there. Do I hear a motion?
So moved?
Yeah, so moved. Thank you.
I'll second.
All right. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And so that takes us to item number 12, items to include in commission notes.
The new position, for one.
And of course, Roseland.
A pointer to the executive summary for the strategic plan, which should be up shortly.
Did you get that? So so could you? Are you talking about like a link put into the electronic newsletter, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's going to be up on the website.
Any other items? No. Yeah. All right. So if you think of something, when will this newsletter come out? The other one just came out, so this may not come out until after the December meeting. The 20th of November. So if you think of other things before the 20th of November, or sooner probably than that, then let Rebecca know, or shoot Tim an email, or shoot me an email.
Do we like the idea of putting this story about the history and genealogy, this neat little discovery story in there? I mean, just as a story, kind of
the item in the management report about the help that the genealogy library gave to somebody who was searching for the right-of-ways.
It's the regional parks, and they were looking for railroad easements so they can do a trail system. I mean, it's, kind of really important little thing that we did. It's just
and it was, what was it, from 1879?
Yes.
Yeah.
From the archives at Muskillica, so it is kind of interesting.
I just, FYI, I have an interest in this because it's in Sonoma Valley, and I think that the residents, I know they will be very interested. So Brett's connected me with, is it Catherine, the librarian, but I wouldn't be surprised if this gets picked up by the press. People are really interested in alternative ways of getting up and down the valley, and it's such a beautiful area. I just think it would be a very popular story.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear more about it.
It's important that we be the architects of how this message gets out, and that we use this as an opportunity to position the library in a positive light. That's what I think.
I think we all agree with you.
So if we have the resources to, we could have a press release about this. We just need to steer the publicity about it, because I think that's why I wanted to contact her, frankly, was because I wanted to get more information. Brett's information was good. I just want to know a little bit more about this and the steps. It said it was the final piece of a big puzzle. And so I think that knowing what that puzzle is and how this fits in, we should take this opportunity to promote how the library was instrumental in making a public right-of-way, if that's what's happening, become a reality.
Yeah, I agree. It would be a great story for towns in the Sunday section, but a great story about, it's real. I mean, this trail system couldn't happen without this information, so it's a big deal. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments? No. So it looks like our next meeting will be on December 7th. And it will start at 5 o'clock, and it'll start off with it'll open, and then we'll go into closed session at that meeting. So 5 o'clock here, and I guess we are adjourned at 7:48.
Awesome job tonight. Thank you.
It's a pretty light calendar, or pretty light agenda.